Okay, so here's the condensed version, cut to the chase of getting to just, getting the LUT and doing color correction on some underwater footage in case you don't want to sit through the big, long Gone with the Wind version, although I do go into some other stuff. But here you go. First thing you're going to need to get started is what we call a LUT. And this is the one I'll be showing you today. Notice that it's free, right? Free. It's not perfect, but it does an adequate job for a lot of things. So you would add this to the cart, and then you would download it, and what you get is a little zip file, and that zip file has, when you double click it, it creates a folder, and in that folder is the LUT. Now we'll get into that in a second, but that's the step there. So once you have the LUT, and we're going to go to Final Cut here. Let me get to my window, and once I'm in Final Cut, well, I've already laid some effects on this clip, and so that's what comes in, right? That's flat, native, using the filter. Boom, that's what it looks like when it's affected. Unaffected, affected. So I'll show you how to do this as we step through. But to install the LUT, there's a plugin called Custom LUT. It comes with Final Cut X. If you just search Custom, it'll have Custom LUT. You drag that to your clip, and for our purposes here, I'm going to turn this one off. To install that LUT that you downloaded, and I hope you can see this. You might have to watch it full screen. I can't tell what resolution is coming through, but you can see I've installed a number of different LUTs. Some I created my own in DaVinci Resolve, some I got from other people, but I can choose that LUT, and it's going to bring up a window, and here I go to the folder where the LUT is, and I select it there. Now I'm not going to do it because I already have it in my list, but that's how you would get the LUT. So the turn the effects off, and actually I'm just going to clear all of the effects, and we're going to start from scratch so you can see how easy it is to get there. Actually, I'm going to leave those in. All right, so first thing I want to do is since I shot native white balance, it doesn't really know what white is. This appears to be white, so I go here and I go to balance color, and it does sort of an okay job. I can also try to use the picker, and it seems to do about the same. So sometimes you need to switch between automatic and the white balance and see what flavor you like. Now I'm going to jump ahead here because when we apply the LUT, it's going to drop the exposure down like a stop. And if you look over here and you're not familiar with scopes, in Final Cut X, you can view the video scopes here, and there's a scale, minus 20 to 120, and from 0 to 100 is 0 is black, 100 is white. Okay, so you'll see what happens when we apply the LUT is this whole, what they call a waveform, is going to shift down. So I like to do this in front, and the next thing I'm going to add is just a color board, and I'm going to go to exposure, and I'm just going to raise the exposure up a tad. All right, now you see it's starting to come to life, right? Yeah, balance color, and a color board is there. So I've got some good color coming in. What happened? I don't know. Oh, because my saturation. That was another cheap trick that I would do if I didn't want to use a LUT, I could go into the color board and just dial up the saturation and get to adequate results too. So we'll save that for wrap up later. At any rate, so I'm just going to deal with the exposure. My color tones and tints are the same. But now I've got, all I've dealt with is exposure. I haven't dealt with the color yet. Now is where I would add that instance of the LUT. And if you take a look here, I'm going to go select the ProTune LUT. And then it comes in. If you notice what happened, the exposure dropped down about a stop, right? So the other thing is it's very thick, heavily saturated. For those who don't know what this scope is, it's a waveform. It's checking the level of chroma. It's pretty saturated. You might like it, but I tend to like to dial it. When I apply the LUT, I can dial it back and forth to flavor. And then I still might want to go back and I still may want to go adjust my exposure going back to the color board. Maybe I want the mids up a little bit, a little more contrast. Maybe my whites are peaking. So I can tweak it there in front of applying the LUT. Now, some people like to apply the LUT first. That's okay. So that's kind of getting a good correction pretty easily. And it's holding up pretty good here. That I might dial that in a little bit more, and I might add a little more contrast. And that's looking pretty good. My whites aren't clipping. Life is pretty dandy. So I hope that helps somebody. It's helped me a lot and makes my life a lot easier. And so, yeah, if you have any questions, reach out, and happy to help. And so, yeah, funding my scuba addiction. So if you have a friend or family member that's thinking about buying or selling a home, please reach out, and I'm never too busy for your referrals. Thanks again,